Hey, friends, welcome back to the Do Cool Shit podcast. It's me, Meryl, and today we're going to talk about something small but powerful, and I think it's really freaking appropriate, especially for the times that we're in right now. If you're listening to this like in current day, although I'm sure it could apply for for any time, but life feels a little stressful right now. The world feels a little like a dumpster fire. So I really wanted to talk about this specific topic and bring it to your attention. If you don't know about it yet, put it into your world and allowing it, if you let it, to just change how you move through your days. So, the topic is glimmers. Have you heard of glimmers before? You've heard of triggers. We've talked about triggers before. We talk about triggers often because they are the things that may spike a stress response or may bring up old patterns or dysregulate us. We hear trigger warning all the time, and it's like, hey, brace yourself, prepare for something bad. But glimmers are the opposite. They're those tiny moments where you feel a little bit more calm, safe, connected, inspired, maybe more regulated. They're not huge breakthroughs. They're usually pretty freaking subtle, but they matter more than you may think. And as we go through this episode, you may think of times in your life that resonate with this. And of course, I hope that as you go into your life from this episode beyond, that you look for these. So, glimmers are these small sparks of insight and safety and inspiration that show up in your day. It may be something like the sun hitting your face when you go outside. It's starting to get warm out right now for a lot of people as we get out of winter, and it's like, the sun hitting your face, or, you're on a walk and you look up and you soak in the sun. It might be a random kind interaction that you have out in the world. It may be hearing a song that you love when you're in the grocery store, or it comes on the radio or something like that. It may be locking eyes with your dog and feeling that weird little heart squeeze that happens in that moment. It might be a conversation that makes you think differently. Those are the moments when your body softens, your shoulders drop from that stretched, shrugged around your ears position. Your jaw can unclench, your breath deepens. And when this happens, your physiology also shifts, right? We've talked about what happens when you downregulate. Your heart rate can lower, your blood pressure can decrease, your cortisol can drop. Your nervous system gets that message that, like, hey, I'm okay, I'm safe. So, glimmers are cool for many, many reasons, and especially for the people who are always on and always go, 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 which I know personally I tend to operate like that, although I'm working on it, right? And if you're listening to this, you may resonate with that. But this message can be rare in certain times of life, especially again now where there's a lot of shit going on, whether it's in your personal life, in the world in general, both. So this can be rare, and that's why glimmers matter. So here's why I love this concept so much. And I've talked about this not a lot, but for a long time. We often think change happens from pressure, and I talk about this, right? Change is hard. Uh, Pressure creates diamonds, right? That pushing harder. But the message I don't send and the message that does get sent out in the world a lot of the times that has been the narrative, and especially in the fitness world, has been like, be more disciplined and fix yourself and find out what's wrong. But the message I will always back up is that sustainable growth happens from that safety and that self-trust. It doesn't mean that things don't feel hard, or you may be doing things that feel a little bit scary, but um you also have this sense of safety that is attached to them. And glimmers create that internal safety. So you know, you feel safe when you're more creative, when you're more flexible, when you're more willing to try, when you're more open to learning. They introduce novelty sometimes and curiosity without those things feeling threatening. They remind you that change doesn't have to feel like a punishment, and it can feel really invigorating. And for people that may struggle with the all or nothing patterns or the burnout cycles or the constant operating with that slightly dysregulated aspect, glimmers can feel like medicine almost. So I'd love at this point to just ask you to kind of think about, when was the last time you experienced a glimmer and actually noticed it? And this is a loaded question, but do you think we're better at spotting triggers or glimmers? And why do you think that is? I've talked about before where humans have this negativity bias and we often look for the bad things, and our systems are constantly scanning for threat. Biologically, our systems are just wanting us to survive. So this is usually where those glimmers can go unnoticed, especially if we are operating in that go, 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 and we're not really looking for these things. So I am going to talk about how you can teach yourself, your body, to notice glimmers a little bit more. But I'll tell you this, that I just went on a trip to California for a certification about a week and a half ago, and I live in Illinois area, so it's been cold. It's been cold. The sun has not been very warm. We go through winter and it's just kind of blah, right? So going to California and getting out of the airport and just being like, oh my gosh, my body is melting. Waking up the next morning and going for a walk where it was a new setting and I could enjoy a coffee and enjoy the scenery and enjoy moving my body and having it be kind of a quiet morning, and then the sun coming out and seeing palm trees and eating fresh fruit for breakfast. Like, all of these things were things that I really worked on noticing and allowing them to be like warming to me. Um, and that's what makes things extra special, because that trip could have easily been, I could have done the same exact things and just like moved into, hey, I need to do the next thing. I need to do the next thing, or been preoccupied with other things that were going on. But that's an example of when I experienced like a whole bunch of glimmers in in a day. And this is something that I go through my life because I know that I'm a go, go, go person. And I know that it's really easy to not notice these things. And I know what my life feels like when I don't. So being intentional with these things. So here's how you can do it too. You can train yourself to experience them more often. And, your nervous system can learn that it's safe to feel good. And again, if you're someone who you can kind of acknowledge and identify that you're used to chaos or pressure, then the calm-ish kind of feeling or the good feeling can feel unfamiliar, and it can even feel unsafe. So this is just practice where, when we think about it out loud, it's like, I'm just appreciating the sun, and that is okay for me to do. And just like anything else, the reps matter. The more that you practice it, the easier it gets to do. And you'll see what happens, but I'll tell you that cool shit happens and it feels very, very different. So, here's a few ways that you can cultivate more glimmers in your life. One is stay curious, practice gratitude in the moment. Not that forced toxic positivity, gratitude bullshit, but just the awareness. If you're on a walk and you feel the sun, pause. You don't have to actually pause walking, but, think about that and how good it feels. If someone smiles at you or pays you a compliment, take that in. If you're laughing at something, let yourself laugh. Don't be like, "Oh my god, I sound like a witch," or whatever it is. Just let yourself laugh. And instead of immediately moving on, you can even just close your eyes for a couple seconds and just breathe it in. Soak it up. This is how you teach your brain that this stuff matters. 2 is getting in tune with your senses. So when you notice a glimmer, you can ask yourself, what shifted in my body? Did my breathing change? Did my muscles relax? Did my shoulders drop? This builds something that I would call nervous system literacy. And the more aware that you are kind of like in regulation, the easier it is to access it intentionally. When you know what your body feels like when it is regulated or when it's not, then the easier it is to access it intentionally. 3 is try new things. Novelty can breed glimmers. Okay. And I know these things can feel scary too. These things can, two things can be true at the same time. Try a new fitness class, go to a new coffee shop, go on a different walking route, try to read a different genre of book. I recently started to read fantasy books and fantasy, I guess you can call them fantasy smut books because they've been all the rage. And I was like, oh my God, I really like fantasy books. And I never thought that I would. Have a different conversation, compliment a stranger. You don't need to do something massive and huge and different, like move across the country. Just gently disrupt your autopilot. Growth does not require chaos. It's just exposure, right? You may have heard of exposure therapy. The more that you do like newer things, the more that it feels safe for yourself to do new things. And guess what? Confidence is also something that is massively cultivated when you do stuff like this. Connect, share. So many glimmers are relational, a deep conversation, a moment of vulnerability, a shared laugh, feeling seen. When I went to California and I went to this certification, it was live in person. I didn't know anybody there. And I was talking with people during breaks and joking about how, the sun and California and the warmth hit me. And I was like, oh my God, I do have seasonal depression. And everyone's like, yeah, me too. It doesn't have to be completely serious, but, people love connection and relatedness, right? Um, you don't like isolating yourself isn't where glimmers happen. You can keep things to yourself for sure. And some of those can be special. But I think connection is also something that is very related to bravery. And we know that that also cultivates confidence. And connection is something that's huge in your growth. So take initiative here in maybe like texting someone or joining a group or opening up. Connection is part of, I would say, regulation. And 5, plan unplugged moments. You can't really experience glimmers if you are numbing yourself your entire day with distraction, right? We all have cell phones, and those things have almost become an extension of us. TV is something I know in my household becomes on autopilot, like, it just gets turned on when people come home from work a lot of the time, or it's just on at the end of the day. Constant noise, maybe the radio is always on, or there's a podcast or an audiobook or something like that. But glimmers require presence. So maybe trying things like having your morning coffee without scrolling or going on a walk without headphones on or music on and just listening to what is there and paying attention to what you see while you're on that walk. And maybe having a dinner with your friends or your family where no screens are allowed. It might be just like 5 minutes outside before you start to wind down for bed or to start your wind down for bed. Again, this doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't need to be, I'm not going to use my phone at all during the day or there's no TV in my life ever. It's just planning in moments of presence and maybe coupling them with some other opportunity, like the walk, for example, or having time with friends. It just has to be intentional. So, here's what I'm going to leave you with today is you create your life in moments. Everybody likes to think that it's these massive milestones, but it's not massive milestones. Hopefully we have some of those in the mix. And also, I would say in health and fitness specifically, people think of these like big, big breakthroughs. When was the moment that you did it? And it's like, it wasn't one huge, massive moment or milestone. It's the little ones, the little moments. And glimmers are the tiny evidence, again, that you're safe, change is possible, joy is accessible. This is where like you could be happy every single day. Growth can feel expansive instead of punishing, and life becomes better, honestly. And if you start looking for them, you'll see them everywhere. They'll be easier to access, and you'll feel less silly doing it, maybe, or you won't give a shit about what other people think. And when your nervous system feels safer, your decisions get better. We have talked about this many times before. Your consistency improves, your flexibility improves, your resilience improves. And it's not because you're forcing it, it's because you felt supported from the inside out. So, as you go into this next week, don't just look for what's wrong. Look for what is regulating. Notice the glimmers in your day. Be present. Build in some moments that allow you to be present. Set some boundaries that allow you to be present. And then call those out. Name it, feel it, soak it in. Let those small sparks light the way. Maybe you talk about them with your friends or your family at the end of the day, like, oh, I saw this really cool bird on my walk this morning, because cool shit is this is what it is, right? And we've been talking a lot about nervous system, but when your nervous system feels safe enough to like try things and do things that are new and are different in general, like cool shit. You're doing cool shit all of the time. So please I'm not gonna tell you to go practice this, but I'm encouraging you to go practice this and just try it on. See what cool shit happens for you in your life. I'm not a dictator. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to offer you things to try on because what's the harm in that, right? And what's possible when you do. So, if this was helpful for you in any way, you know that I would love to hear from you. Share it with anybody that you think it may be helpful to. And if you want to share some glimmers that you've noticed in your day, in your week, I would freaking love to hear that also. So until next time, go do the cool shit, and I will talk with you later.